Sa akong mga isig ka presenter niya nga komponensya, mga organizer o mga nagtambong karon online, maayong pag-abot ug maadyong hapon kaninyong tanan. My name is Kei Valmoria Bughaw. I'm a development worker, researcher, and human rights defender. One of my personal advocacies is innovating on indigenous Filipino practices as we face ever-growing climate risks and challenges of the world today. Dayong sa Dakbalangay, innovating on indigenous mutual health mechanisms. Ambit, to share. Pangambit ditog sudan sa imong uyuan. Pangayog bahaw kang manoy hulian. All children growing up in rural Visayas and Mindanao in the 90s must have been sent out on these kinds of errands by their grandparents one time or another. It's not practiced much today, but back then, it was not deemed improper to do so. What was improper was if one did not share their food, if they had extra. They would be immediately pronounced dalo or hakog, stingy. In Surigao del Norte, where I grew up, I heard of the practice of hagdaw, where farmers harvesting their fields deliberately left rice stalks for widows and orphans. I also saw childhood friends showing me the fish that they got from panugma, or helping the returning fisherfolk to put away their catch from their nets into containers. I start my presentation today with this statement. Our culture is rooted in solidarity and mutual help among community members. To understand how this came to be, let us go back and review how our ancestors lived. The Visayan word for community is Dakbalangay. Obviously, it comes from the fact that we have a strong boat culture. In an echo poetry anthology published in 2021, Lina Garcia Chua said, "It is natural, then, to view our relationship with the water that surrounds our islands as one of unity and not defiance." Truth be told, the sea, with its inconstant nature, offered a host of challenges to our pre-colonial ancestors. To survive, teamwork and unshakable trust in each other was needed, and thus indigenous practices that involve a collective effort evolved. Documented accounts of 16th century Visayans showcase not just the practice of group fishing or pangayaw, hunting and farming, but also a strong unity in repelling enemy tribes and later on the Spanish conquistadores. It seems that our ancestors knew what we should. Facing adversity and disaster should be a collective endeavor. Today, there are still existing indigenous practices that show this collective spirit. Baguio-based Tabtiba Foundation and partners in Indigenous Knowledge Philippines have documented existing practices among the Tagbanwa and Kankanai Igorot groups. The Kankanai of Bisao Mountain Province call their forest management system the Batangan. Families are assigned a specific plot of the forest to take care of. If they cut down any tree, they must replace it. Because wildfires are common, regular inspections are conducted by children and their parents, especially during the summer months. No one may take lumber out of the community or sell it for profit. Meanwhile, the Tagbanwa of Calamian Islands in Coron, Palawan, jointly manage all their island resources from the forest to the seas. Fishing, harvesting of birds' nests, and cutting of trees are carefully and sustainably done. They operate on the principle, fish just enough for the day, with a little extra to share with the neighbors. So let's go to the heart of my presentation. The word Dayong or Dajong in Bol-anon and Bol-anon Bisaya means to carry together. Living on their balangay boats and later Dakbalangay, they carry their boats and houses together as they move. Today, the Dayong or the Dajong is a term used for a mutual help mechanism that involves monetary contributions and collective labor as bereavement aid. We will look at it further in the next few slides. So how does the Dayong works? How does the Dayong work? A group establishes themselves as a Dayong or Dajong, whether clan-based or community-based. The group agrees on a set of rules and amount of their monthly or regular contributions. The treasurer collects the contributions and keeps the records for the group. An agreed amount is disbursed to the family of the deceased. Contribution in the form of labor during the wake and burial may be accepted in lieu of money. The group thus metaphorically and often literally too, together carries their deceased members into their final resting place. Let us look at some examples from around the islands. This first example is unusual because the Dajong is also an investment scheme. In April 2024, a post on Facebook calls on non-relatives and residents of a community to be members of a Dajong. Their goal is to reach 500 members who will pay a registration fee of 150 pesos and 50 pesos for each bereavement. That means around 25,000 will go to each bereaved family. The registration fees are invested in a rice pautang that is exclusive only to members. Profits are utilized to contribute to hospitalization expenses. After 3 missed payments, a Dajong member will be expelled. New members will then be recruited, and they are required to comply with a back pay for all who died in that year. For example, 4 already died, they must pay 200 on top of the 50 and the 150 registration fee. At the end of the year, an audit of all payments and disbursements is done. This second Dajong, or in this case Dayong because it's in Leyte, is unique in a sense that is undertaken by senior citizen associations in 2 barangays in Cananga and Matagong. In an interview with an NGO worker who works with these senior citizens, he said that the Dayong provides a sense of security for those in their twilight years, freeing them from the worry of burdening their families when they die. Group 1 collects 20 pesos per month, and each cash disbursement is given with a sack of rice. Group 2 collects 100 pesos per member and 3 canned sardines to disburse to the bereaved family. There are 225 members of this group. For these groups, only the senior citizen member is entitled to receive the assistance, meaning the Dayong is not applicable to any other member of the senior citizen's family. In a third example, this involves employees of a public high school in Surigao City. It is unique because it involves a different kind of community, people sharing a workplace. All 350 teaching and non-teaching personnel of the high school contribute 50 pesos monthly, and bereaved families receive no less than 10,000 pesos, more if agreed among members. Unlike the previous one, this Dajong is applicable to all immediate family members of each employee, and an assigned teacher records all payments and provides updates. This last example is not called Dajong, but the tabuhan, and it is practiced in this island community in Batasan, Tubigon, Bohol. The tabuhan not only covers burials and weddings in this island, but also coastal resource management. The tabuhan was convened to collectively make a sandbar to protect the island from rising tides. Aside from the tabuhan, there's the tubaay, which ensures that tuba is available for wakes. There's also the bugasay and the kabaway, which ensures that there is enough rice and carabao meat for fiestas. During Typhoon Yolanda, the Dajong groups in Bohol allocated funds for shelter repair and other post-disaster needs. So here is what we can conclude. Dayong and other mutual help mechanisms evolved to address familial and social needs and obligations. In some instances, they have evolved to address more than just the usual social activities. They have been convened to adapt to climate risks and disasters. Groups have adapted to using Facebook for recruitment of members and communication. Some have installed accountability and transparency measures. So, can we actually innovate this to address other intersectional issues for other types of communities? Let's see. Most of the Dayong examples earlier cited are only found in rural areas of the Philippines, but there are similar ones even in other countries. Indonesia has documented many serious threats of violence against LGBTQI individuals. But in that country, a consortium of LGBT and women's organizations have come together to provide paralegal help and safe houses for queer individuals and activists. In Laos, a group of young people advocating for mental health form an online community as a support system. Note that having an online community is much safer than meeting in person and also offers anonymity to those who are not yet ready to come out. A partner org of the community offers discreet delivery of HRT, HIV, and STI treatments to the members. Lastly, during the COVID-19 lockdown in the Philippines, we saw community pantries being organized. These were spontaneous, but also suffered a lot of harassment and red tagging, especially the Maginhawak pantry in Quezon City. But here is one group that thinks we can do something, like Dajong. The Fifth Network, or Forging Intersectional Feminist Futures Network Philippines, is a group of 21 NGOs and CSOs formed in 2021, representing LGBTQI, persons with disabilities, indigenous peoples, women and children, migrant workers, victims of human rights violations. The group conducted a study on the situation of its member organizations and found that the majority of them are facing the same issues, individually and organizationally. Discrimination and harassment was reported by 38% for their SOGI, 30% for their disabilities, 23% for political or religious beliefs, 7% for age, and 2% for ethnicity. Most worrisome is the lack of funding opportunities available to network members. Because of this, 71% of the NGO workers have no regular or monthly compensation and 59% reported having no benefits at all, except for travel and communication allowances. So, in a series of workshops, the group agreed to explore the establishment of their Dakbalangay, a solidarity-based community of care. Acknowledging Filipino traditions like the Dajong, the group is now in the planning stage of institutionalizing their community of care. The community of care will aim to provide the needs of human rights workers at first in the Fifth Network and hopefully to expand to other human rights defenders in the country. Take note that 30% of the study respondents say that they wish they had more stable income or opportunities to earn. The majority of the workers in the study say they're happy or fulfilled in serving others or helping their communities, but they need to find second jobs to raise their families. There are also big asks in terms of mental health support, healthcare, and life insurance, as well as safe spaces. So can we really have a mutual help mechanism between human rights organizations? Well, it may just work. Human rights workers and organizations in the country, as the study shows, suffer the same intersectional issues. Kinship beyond blood is possible because they share challenges and adversities. They already have a common language, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And lastly, organizations internally already have trust among its members. Solidarity with other organizations can build on this. This is how the fifth Dakbalangay Community of Care looks like. Under resource sharing and management, Dakbalangay members write joint proposals for joint project implementation. This helps smaller regional NGOs if their partners are more established national NGOs. Under co-learning, human rights education and learning exchanges are done. In the works is for Life Haven, one of the members to teach Filipino Sign Language and disability rights to other fifth members. Under referral network and linkages, the organizational networks of each member organization will be shared among the others. For example, human trafficking and human rights violation victims, as well as the NGO workers helping them, may need mental health support. The La Union member does not have any access, but Baguio and NCR orgs may accept referred clients. Information sharing and knowledge production means growing together their shared knowledge and producing joint research projects and databases. Network-wide protection and reporting mechanisms involve the establishment of guidelines and policies to protect against discrimination and violations of human rights, and that these are standardized across the members, ensuring safe spaces. Lastly, health and wellness support, particularly in mental and physical fitness, will be shared among the organizations by those who have programs that are already existing. So how do we sail forward towards our SDG goals? First, we recognize that in this day and age, to ensure that human rights are protected and defended, we must see the importance of caring for the carers. Then we promote affinity politics and not identity politics. It's not just a fight of the gays now. It is a fight of everyone who suffers under a repressive government or oppressive culture. We must build trust by joint projects and learning opportunities. We must iterate on our social innovations and learn from our mistakes and move on in unison. Lastly, we work towards making solidarity-based collective care as a dominant discourse, and this does not mean just expanding our membership or recruiting new organizations. We should pass it on to the next generation of leaders and human rights defenders. Social change, behavioral change, will not happen overnight. Our pre-colonial ancestors developed their mutual help mechanisms and kept it alive through generations. Our culture already has the precedent. Let us create our Dakbalangay, our communities of care today. Thank you very much for listening to my ambit. Padayon ta, salamat karadyaw, salamat kaadyo sa inyo nga tanan.